RSSTI TV 2020. I am Dr. Ruchi Shah, and on behalf of Wockhardt RSSTI TV 2020, I welcome you all. I am glad to have with us today renowned diabetologist from Rajkot, Dr. Pratap Jethwani sir. Sir is a consultant diabetes specialist, Jethwani Hospital. Sir has a rich clinical experience in managing diabetes patients. So welcome Dr. Pratap Jethwani sir to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Ruchi, for inviting me to be part of this RSSDI TV program.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, based on your recent talk in RSSDI 2020 on metformin controversies, a review, we would like to know from you how common is lactic acidosis with metformin therapy in the routine clinical practice?
I think in routine clinical practice, metformin associated lactic acidosis, that is being termed as MALA, that is quite rare. And as per the recent systemic review and meta-analysis, the case reports are the incidence rate of MALA is around 8 to 9 per 1 lakh patient year. So it is quite rare. But when you use metformin, particularly in the presence of acute renal decline, then there is chances of metformin accumulation. And as we all know, metformin can lead to lactate accumulation, and then this will result in lactic acidosis. So underlying conditions which produce lactate, and if there is an additional metformin therapy, which is there in the presence of impaired renal function, that will further contribute to this lactate production, and that will lead to lactic acidosis. But in routine clinical practice, it is quite rare.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, we want to know what are the mechanisms by which metformin lowers vitamin B12 levels?
So metformin, definitely currently the evidence is that the metformin, it lowers vitamin B12 levels in a dose dependent manner. And in one of the studies, it reduced vitamin B12 levels to the tune of 19% over a period of 4 years. And the recent KDIGO recommendations, they say that a patient who is on metformin therapy for more than 4 years, one should monitor vitamin B12 levels. The metformin reduces vitamin B12 levels. There are various mechanisms, but one of the studies, it suggests that because of the positive charge of metformin, there is alteration in the charge of the ileal cell membrane, and because of which the calcium ions, they cannot bind to this ileal cell membrane receptor, and because of that, there is a impairment of absorption of vitamin B12, and this contributes to vitamin B12 deficiency. And there is studies to suggest that if you give simultaneously calcium, then the chances of vitamin B12 deficiency are less. But this is just one hypothesis. However, the clinical implications of this vitamin B12 deficiency induced by metformin are still not clear. So biochemical deficiency is there, but how much it is clinically important, that is still doubtful. But better to supplement your patients who are on long-term metformin therapy with vitamin B12.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, the last question, can metformin be used in CKD and how to titrate its dose?
So chronic kidney disease is one of the conditions when there is a lot of controversy about metformin use. Previously, it was recommended that once the creatinine goes above certain value, then you have to stop metformin. But now we know that the chronic kidney disease has been divided into various stages, not based on the creatinine value, but based on the estimated GFR, which is calculated from the creatinine values. So when the estimated GFR is above 60, one can use metformin safely. Even up to 45 ml per minute, one can use metformin safely. But when it goes below 45 ml per minute, then you have to reduce the dose of metformin. The maximum dose used now is 1 gram per day, not 2 gram per day when you are using extended release metformin formulation. And when eGFR goes below 30, then it is generally recommended that you have to stop metformin. However, Australia and New Zealand, these are the two countries where metformin has been can be continued in the dose of 500 milligram, even in patients of CKD stage 4, that is eGFR between 15 to 30 ml per minute. But then you have to be very cautious because this is the group of patients where metformin induced lactic acidosis is being reported in the literature. So when eGFR goes below 30, it is better to stop metformin. Between 30 to 45 of eGFR, reduce the dose and monitor renal function more frequently. And when eGFR is more than 60, one can use it in a maximum dose without any problem. Also, patients who are subjected to procedures which involves iodinated contrast agents, then if eGFR is less than 30, then you have to stop metformin and you have to restart it 48 hours after the procedure. Generally, you have to repeat renal function and you have to see that the eGFR is well above 30, and then you can restart metformin in those patients.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views on the important topic of metformin controversies and sharing your views. And stay tuned to RSSDI TV 2020, brought to you by Wockhardt, and for more recent updates from the RSSDI 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you.